Good afternoon. My name is Shana Martin, and I'm Marketing Manager for the American Society of Health System Pharmacists. Today, I'll be presenting alongside my colleague, Colette Beavis, who is LMS Manager. We're happy you could join us for today's webinar. Our presentation will last for approximately 25 minutes, with some time at the end for your questions. We will be recording this webinar and will make it available in the next week. This webinar is for informational purposes only, and there is no CE offered for participation. Today, we'll address the current and future requirements for pharmacy technician continuing education and recertification, and we'll also describe how PharmacyTechCEorg meets those needs. The content for today's presentation was designed specifically for those interested in providing development opportunities for pharmacy technicians on staff. All lines will be muted on this webinar. If you have any questions, please utilize the question field in the control panel on the right-hand side of the screen. You may need to select the plus sign next to questions to expand that field. We will address as many questions as we can at the conclusion of the presentation. First, a quick overview of today's presentation. We'll start off with the current CE requirements for pharmacy technicians and the organizations that determine them. Second, I will discuss anticipated changes to CE requirements in the next couple of years. We will then cover the options available for pharmacy technicians. Finally, I will provide an overview of PharmacyTechCEorg and how it meets those needs, and Colette will give a tour of the administrative functions within PharmacyTechCE.org. We'll wrap up by answering your questions. Starting with CE requirements, there are two driving forces behind a technician's CE requirements: the state boards of pharmacy and the national certifying bodies for those technicians that are certified. One note is that NHA's program was developed by the Institute for Certification of Pharmacy Technicians, which is now actually a part of NHA. In addition to these groups, individual employers may also have specific development requirements for their staff. The current continuing education requirements from national organizations are similar: 20 hours of CE every 2 years, including 1 hour of pharmacy law. Both organizations also allow 10 hours for on-the-job elements and or 15 hours for college course credit. New this year for PTCB certified technicians is the requirement of 1 hour of medication safety CE. In terms of state requirements, there's significant variation in both the number of hours and any specific activities, such as topical or live requirements. Over 1/3 of states have continuing education requirements that technicians must meet in order to maintain their license, certification, or registration. Some states have no specific CE requirements for pharmacy technicians. Some have requirements comparable with those of the national certifying bodies, or even require certification through a national organization. None of the states require more hours of CE than is required by the national certifying organizations, though some have those specific top requirements or insist upon a certain number of hours of live CE. The best source for the most current requirements for your state will be the individual state board of pharmacy. So looking at the changes in CE requirements, this is really driven by the fact the role of pharmacy technicians is evolving. This is due to the introduction of new treatments as well as new technologies. With the change in role, a more thorough approach to continuing education and staff development is taking place. National organizations such as SHPE and PTCB are advocating for technician registration, competency exam requirements, and educational standards and training. Here at SHPE, the Pharmacy Practice Model Initiative is being undertaken to advance the health and well-being of patients by developing and disseminating a futuristic practice model that supports the most effective use of pharmacists as direct patient care providers. This goal requires increasing both the responsibility and the competence of pharmacy technicians so that they can allow the pharmacist to take on a more active clinical role. Earlier, I mentioned the 1/3 of states that have specific CE requirements. This number is growing as state governments recognize the importance of the pharmacy technician role and the importance of well-trained staff serving in these positions. Now, to look specifically at the PTCB CREST initiative, this is of particular importance because of the number of technicians affected. PTCB is the national leader in pharmacy technician certification, and as of June 2013, PTCB had granted over 500,000 certifications to pharmacy technicians. In addition, 25% of hospitals require PTCB certification. So the first change as part of the CREST initiative is the addition of the medication safety requirement this year. Then looking specifically at 2015, that's when the T-designated activities come online. And these are activities that have been developed specifically for pharmacy technicians. Really, the requirements aside, continuing education serves an important purpose for pharmacy technicians, primarily to maintain competency and improve professional skills that make them capable members of the pharmacy technician, or excuse me, of the pharmacy team. And this is what's driven this portion of the CREST initiative, is making sure that technicians are receiving the education that's most relevant to their practice. One question I've received specific to this is, does that mean that pharmacy technicians can no longer participate in activities for pharmacists? Yeah, this change only affects CE for PTCB recertification. It does not preclude technicians from participating in activities designed for pharmacists. So, looking at ways for pharmacy technicians to not only address requirements, but also to achieve the overarching goal of CE, there are a few options. First of all is searching for CE online, maybe by specific topic, sometimes by cost. There are a limited number of free T-designated CE options. Currently, this isn't as big of an issue from a meeting requirement standpoint, but will become more so as technician-specific education becomes required. Second is for the individual technician to purchase CE through either a pharmacy technician organization, through a publication, or through other CE providers. And then finally is for the technician to receive that CE through their employer. They either provide some sort of CE benefit for staff. This could be through reimbursing for activities of the technician's selection, conducting their own program in-house, or purchasing a solution for all their staff. Each approach to the employer-supported CE has its benefits and drawbacks. Reimbursements may cost more, but would ensure that the staff are participating in CE that was interesting to them. In-house solutions provide the benefit of ensuring topics are important to the overall workplace needs, though these types of programs can take a significant amount of staff time and resources to pull off. And then finally, employer-purchased CE can help ensure a well-trained staff. The purchase is obviously going to be budget dependent, and many of the services don't allow for topic selection. One specific tool I'd like to mention today is PharmacyTechCEorg. This educational service was developed by ASHP with an advisory board of pharmacists and pharmacy technicians from a variety of practice settings. It provides over 25 hours of T-designated CE on a variety of topics, with a new topic added each month. Earlier, I highlighted the varying requirements by state and certifying bodies. The topics included in PharmacyTechCEorg have been selected to cover any requirements a pharmacy technician may have, whether it's 2 hours of law CE, or 4 hours of live, or even PTCB's medication safety requirements. For managers interested in ensuring competency on particular topics, administrator access tools provide the ability to track progress and participation of the learners on their account. Colette will go over this administrator function shortly. So there are currently over 25 hours of CE topics on the site. I'm showing just a sampling here. For a thorough list, please visit www.PharmacyTechCE.org. Topics have been selected for applicability to varying practice environments, providing flexibility to pharmacy technicians to select the topics that best meet their needs. And each activity is 1 hour long, and many are offered in multiple formats. So looking at the CE formats, the availability of multiple formats to accommodate individual learning preferences and learning styles is something that sets PharmacyTechCE.org apart. Almost all of the activities are available in multiple formats. There are on-demand, which are for those who prefer the synchronized slides and audio. In surveys of pharmacy technicians, we found most prefer an on-demand format for their CE. This is the player that we use for the on-demand activity. It provides navigation to easily pause or repeat a slide, and then built into each presentation are participation questions designed to keep the learners engaged in the content throughout. Now, most pharmacy technician-specific CE has traditionally been offered in a print or PDF format, and this is designed for those who prefer that approach. We've offered this CE monograph. We have developed the CE monographs for the majority of the topics, with the exception of the calculations activities, which are best delivered using the on-demand approach. This is an example of one of the CE monographs for the new drugs update. I'm just giving you a general feel of what it looks like, and much like the on-demand presentations, we have participation questions built into the content. And at the conclusion, the technician would still complete an assessment. One format that's difficult for me to demonstrate here is the podcast. Podcasts are available for individuals who want to listen from an MP3 player, computer, or other device. Learners can print handouts from the e-learning sites so that they can follow along with that podcast. And then finally, as we bring new content to learners, it is in the format of live CE webinars, where slides and audio are synchronized, and participants are able to ask questions of the presenter. Audience response questions are also incorporated into this format, much like the on-demand. Monthly live CE webinars are scheduled at varying times to allow flexibility for learners. At some sites, we've heard that these webinars is used as staff development time, so learners all participate from a common area and are able to discuss the applicability to their workplace as they're completing the webcast or the webinar. For those unable to attend the live event, this content is then converted into the other CE formats for access at the learner's convenience. So we've discussed some of the unique features of PharmacyTechCEorg and how it meets those CE requirements. One feature of this service that sets it apart from other pharmacy technician CE options is the inclusion of administrative access tools at no additional cost, regardless of the number of learners. At this point, I would like to introduce my colleague, Colette Beavis.
Thank you, Shana. As Shana mentioned, my name is Colette Beavis. I'm the LMS manager for ASHP, and I'll be showing you an example of some of the administrative features that are available to you when you purchase access for multiple learners. All of our content is accessed through ASHP's e-learning site. This site is where you'll find all of ASHP's online programming and where your learners access their subscriptions. In addition to where your administrative privileges can be accessed, when you purchase group access, you receive an email that contains the enrollment code to distribute to your learners in order to access their subscription. In that same email, you'll find instructions on how you can view their progress. You log into the e-learning site with the credentials that you already have registered with ASHP, and you view your My Learning Activities page. Your email will instruct you to redeem the same enrollment code as your learners with the admin in front of it and a dash. You'll type that code into this field and click Redeem, and I've got a sample code up on the screen now, and you'll be prompted when you click Redeem to enter a PIN that was also in that access email that was sent to you. You only need to go through this process once, the very first time you access, but you're prompted to type that PIN in, and you click Submit, and you'll be taken to what's called your admin dashboard, where you can access all of the codes that you administer. In the future, you can view these results as often as you want just by clicking on your name in the top right corner of our site and navigating to the admin dashboard. In the enrollment codes section, under codes you currently administer, you'll see your enrollment code summary. This is an overview of how many redemptions have been used and how many remain in your total purchase. To see more details, you just click Go next to the name of the code that you're administering. This page provides you with a lot more detail about your enrollment code. First of all, the overview is shown again at the top of the page, just to kind of reiterate that. And then underneath the overview is a list of each learner, including name and when he or she redeemed the code. Beneath each person's name is a listing of all the programs that that particular user has enrolled in so far as part of the subscription. So in this example, our user has enrolled in 5 different topics. So while there might be over 25 programs available, this shows you exactly how many your individual users have actually chosen to enroll in and take. Next to each program title is one of 4 possible statuses, starting with Not Started, Incomplete, which means the learner opened it but didn't actually finish, Completed, which includes the date of completion, or Failed, which only applies if there was an assessment and they failed the assessment attempt. And last but not least, the column on the right side shows the results of any assessment attempts for that learner and that program. So in this example, the learner attempted the assessment for the REMS program and scored a 100%. Every assessment attempt will be shown here regardless of how many times the learner attempts it, so you'll be able to see how many tries it took them to pass. Our live webinars don't actually have an assessment, so sometimes you'll see a program that was completed, but it doesn't have any assessment details. And you also have the option to view an exact copy of this page in PDF format by clicking that Create PDF button. I'm going to pass it back to Shana now so she can discuss some purchase options. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any at the end of the webinar.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Colette. So today we've covered a lot of information about technician CE requirements in PharmacyTechCE.org. One piece that is always important in selecting a service is how it fits into the pharmacy budget. PharmacyTechCE.org purchases provide a full year of access to all available topics. Pricing for individuals is very competitive with other CE services. And then for group purchases, we've added the benefit of volume discounts. And this comes into play when at least 11 learners are included on the account. And these discounts range from 10% to 20% per learner. Regardless of whether there are 2 or 200 learners on a group purchase account, access to the administrator tools is available at no additional cost. We have made one topic available for you free of charge to give you a feel for the different formats and to try out the service before investing your budget. Meeting the Challenges of Drug Shortages, presented by Aaron Fox, is available on demand as a CE monograph or as a podcast, and will provide pharmacy technicians with 1 hour of CE. Feel free to take a look and share this information with others on your team to help you in making that decision. And then always www.PharmacyTechCE.org is available for you to access for more information and to make a purchase. Then at this point, we'd like to open it up, see what questions you all may have, and give you some additional information. I do have a question here about copyrights, and I'll reach out to you individually offline about copywriting purposes. You would definitely, if you have your whole staff participating in PharmacyTechCE.org, you can definitely benefit from the materials that are there. Another question I see here is about whether more than one person can be an administrator on the account. That Colette gave a great overview of how the administrator functionality works. Colette, do you want to tackle this one?
Sure, I'd be happy to. There is no limit to how many administrators you can use per code. So if you and another colleague both want to keep tabs on your learners, or if you want to be able to have multiple people viewing the statuses, that's fine. Anybody that has that admin code and the PIN that it gets emailed to you, you can share that and have those people have the same access that you do.
Okay, great. Thank you. One question that I've also received is whether we will provide a copy of the slides, and absolutely we'll be emailing out a PDF of the slides that we went through today so that those can be shared with your staff. Another question I see here is regarding CE monographs and the ability to have the questions. I know for those who've been participating in some of the other options that are out there, being able to see the questions in the CE monograph, and we have all of the questions that someone can follow along with the various formats for their evaluation at the end, assessment at the end. Is the group access price for one single topic? No, the group access price is actually for the entire subscription. So that is access to everything that's out there. Right now there are over 25 topics there, with a new one coming online each month. So if you purchase for an entire year, you get everything that's out there for everyone on your account, in addition to anything new that comes online. So as these new webinars are scheduled, they'll then be able to participate in the webinars as well.
So Shana, just to expand on what you're saying, in addition to those 25 that are out there now, if you're getting a year's worth of access and you have continuous webinars being released, that would actually be potentially much more than what you started with. When you check in, there would be new topics available throughout your year subscription.
Correct. Thank you. Exactly. Another pricing question that we've received, so if the pricing that I showed earlier, is that for an individual or per the whole group? So this is per learner. So if you have 11 learners on your account, it's $54 per learner, as you would purchase based on the number of learners on the account. And then it's automatically computed through our shopping cart what the total would be at that point. Well, at this point, I'm not seeing any additional questions coming through, but if you do think of anything at the conclusion of this call, I'm more than willing to answer any questions one-on-one. My email address is smartin@ashp.org. And if you do think of anything additional, feel free to feel free to contact me if you have any questions about the topics or about purchase. And thank you again for your participation today.